still needs to be. All right, so that still needs to be. So it's streaming, but it's not. Right. Maybe. Maybe I heard out, eh? All right. Howdy, folks. Good to see you. Oh, man, I can't even type. So I'm just setting up the gear here. We got a really big interview tomorrow with Eric Gagnon from Imperial Tobacco Canada, which is the largest tobacco company in the country. So clearly big tobacco. And, well, I wanted to save, I wanted to make sure that our guest did not have to go through what is normally very painful stuff here, because this gear would work a hell of a lot better if Wirecast wasn't a total piece of crap. Have I said that before? Have I said that? I've said that, right? Wirecast is a total piece of crap. It's an expensive piece of software, too. So, I don't know. How does my headroom look there? Maybe a little bit too much. Jason Knowles, Brent Stafford playing with the cameras. That's right. But I am. I've got some content for us tonight. I definitely do. I mean, if I'm not going to tease out a rant and not come bearing gifts, but I needed to be hooked up with you guys right here. Wirecast is a piece of shit. So give me a second here. So. Okay, so that means the computer output is output, media show assets manager. The problem I'm having with Wirecast is that their newest version, and I'm running their newest version because their second oldest version was a piece of crap, like totally unstable. You guys went through too many webcasts with that. And then their most stablest one is like a year old, version 12. And it's stable on encoding and everything, doing everything. The only thing it's not good for, I'm on black here, hold on. Sec. The only thing it is not good for, surprisingly, is remembering the capture card devices that are connected to all the cameras. So I use Blackmagic, which is pretty standard. I mean, it's either them or you go the step up. And Blackmagic is, used for Pro. And the devices are all the Blackmagic shuttles, the Intensity shuttles, which have been around since 2011. Wirecast built its company and its business on Blackmagic products. It's insane. And all of their versions work up until this most newest one, and it won't remember the specific devices. So when you open up the software and you open up a document, it will have forgotten what Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle is connected. It'll confuse one to be both an input and an output, which can't be done with these devices at the same time, but it'll confuse it. So I'll try to send the out to the out shuttle, but it forgets it. And then it mixes up the names and the device IDs and stuff. It doesn't even have that. But it's got those in the last version, but not in this version. And none of their supporters helped. It's been horrible. It's just been ridiculous. I totally advise everyone to not buy Wirecast software. Hopefully I can change that opinion. Just give me a second. I've just got to figure out, it's switched. Can't show you because this is a computer. It switched my computer input Blackmagic with the Blackmagic that's connected to take the output to go to my program monitor, which I have to see while I'm looking there so then I can see the show. And so just 1 second. Jesus. Oh, God. This is new. Multiple Blackmagic outputs not allowed. Simultaneous Blackmagic outputs is currently disabled due to varying device clocks, causing out of sync and audio dropout issues. Please stop any running wow. Wow. It's even, I mean, I should have done this before, but I thought, oh, you know what? I'll just do this while I'm on air. You guys will enjoy it. But no, I'm stupid. Wow. Okay. Wow. All right, guys. So I'm going to come back. I just think I need to restart this computer. It's worse than I thought. Let me just see what people are saying here on Facebook. Hey, guys on YouTube. Evening, guys. And he swears. Way cool. Okay, sorry. I just got to spend a minute with Facebook, YouTube, Facebook. YouTubers. Okay, this is really a test. But I do have content and a few things to rant about. Bear with me if I have to restart the stream. Okay, so those of you who have heard that on... Oh, it's not just so weird. God, I'm so glad I did this. I mean, I'm not glad that I'm making you guys go through this. I didn't really need to do that. So it is, I do apologize. I could have not hit stream, though I do wanted to test it. Okay, so let me just reboot this. It might end up popping up with a different stream. So let's see what happens. Oh, you piece of shit. Okay. All good news. All good news. Good news in the hood. All right. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, there we go. Hi, I'm Brent Stafford, and this is RegWatch by RegulatorWatch.com. All right. There's still a little bit of a hiccup there, but that's okay. All right, so then that worked. Question is, see, look at this. It did that during Overtop in Dr. Pelosi's episode. So what it's doing is I've got a template here on this shot. This piece of software is just a piece of fucking crap. Unbelievable. And it just, problems pop up like this. All of a sudden, like this template from the 2 shot, it should go, see, this is the shot. And it's all on the same layer. So when you take the new shot, it should just cut. Yeah, it should just, but instead it's leaving. So how did I get rid of that? So all right, so wait a minute. There we go. See, what would a RegWatch episode be if I hadn't lost audio and it'd be my fault, right? Totally. Okay, so what I was saying to everybody, because obviously you could not hear it, yeah, this software is just absolutely insane. I can't tell you, how bad it is. This is an unfixable error. This is a template that is not on any of these shots. No, it's from the 2 shot, from that shot. So when I'm switching, this is just, maybe, I guess, that's the other problem with Wirecast. You could just never get anything stable. I can dump the preferences on this, but they don't, like idiots, they don't allow you to save preferences. Like keyboard shortcuts. So I've got, my it's called X keys. So I've got a switcher which is really important to have. And so I got a switcher for it. And so when I program the stuff so I can press as few buttons possible, during the opening, certainly. And yeah, so when you clear the preferences, it just wipes that away. So, and it wipes all of your settings for your streaming settings too as well. So yeah, you can wipe your preferences with Wirecast, but there's not much to save. Okay, so here's the question that I had. In previous shows, not this year, we've done 4 shows. This will be our 5th tomorrow. But most of the shows all towards the end of October, November, and December, for sure, a good chunk of December. I went back to Wirecast 12. It's a very old version of it, but it's the most stable. It doesn't do any of this, doesn't have the problems with the capture cards and everything else. The only problem is that when you switch shots, there is a disruption in the whole entire audio. So it's a pop in the audio. It's a glitch in the audio. It can be big sometimes, it can be small sometimes, but nevertheless, every time you switch a shot, you get that little in the audio. And so my guest is talking and we start on the 2 shot and he's still talking and I cut to the single. Well, visually that's great, except for there's a, pop in the audio. So I'm looking to see who else has seen that, have maybe heard that in one of our episodes. I'd be surprised if nobody has. Bill, Bill Tarling. Yeah, Bill, that I totally know. Bill, I know. There is no fix for that. I've lost weeks to Wirecast, probably a full month in the last year and a year. Yeah, Bill, I don't know how to get that off, man. It'll clear me to the 2 shot. It seems to, that layer will clear but leave the 2 shot up. Okay. Yeah, so has anybody else heard that? Popping. When switching shots. Never noticed. Oh, okay. So Robert RegRant says, what's odd is the camera that is filming from behind you has no stutter clipping, but face cam is delayed and stutters. Oh, okay. She knew what was going on there. Well, so the wide shot, I bought a fairly upmarket video capture device. So I went up because I'm having problems with this whole thing. I thought, well, maybe if I take one Blackmagic box out of the loop, that would be helpful. And so I did. I got is it Magwell? Magwell. So I mean, it's more money for sure. So that's interacting. So something could be going on there. Plus the camera up there is not a traditional television camera or video camera. For that matter, it's a Panasonic GH4. So it starts out in that, quasi world of DSLR camera. So the chip in there is definitely different, arguably better in terms of that. I think it's a micro 3/3 or something like that, 4/3 or whatever it is. It's not full frame, but it's close in terms of a kind of that, film quality. And so it's running up there. So that could be one of the reasons why that is. Problems, yes, but is better than is. Got lots of crackling in left ear a few vids back myself, but only when full frame guessed. The wrench reviews have not noticed. Deborah, no. But I need to hire a tech guy. Yeah. A good tech guy, guys, would be in this particular setup, for sure. A good tech guy Man, just even contractor would be 25 grand in a year for sure. In this town, this is Vancouver, man. You know, any qualified, I mean, I teach people how to be tech people. I taught for 10 years at the Art Institute. So from cinematography right through to editing and everything else. So, I mean, yeah, if I can't wire it up, few can. That's really the big issue. So for me to be having, these problems, which there's a certain amount of wiring issues and stuff and analog issues, like the other day with Grim Green's show, and I didn't have audio right at the start. Fuck. That's just because I'm an idiot, right? So right before Grim connects, a half hour before we connect with the guests on Skype, so I can get them in and ingest their feed and try to, get through any tech problems that might happen. What happened is that I just installed again in the system just over Christmas after I reset up the gear. So it would have been in use, I think, on the very first episode from maybe with Paul, definitely, if not the second one. But it's a DBX, 286A, 286A, DBX 286A. What it is, it does a couple of things. It's a compressor, so if you get really too loud, and it's analog. It's operating in analog, so it's taking it and it can compress it in real time. The other things, it's got some things it can do for enhancing your voice and everything else. The key one for me is that it's got what's called an expander gate on it, and the expander gate on the DBX and all of their DBX stuff, I mean, is pro quality. I mean, you can spend a lot more money, but you don't have to, at least in my works, scenario here. So what this does essentially is that when I stop talking, you should be hearing silence instead of my air conditioning fan that's running 24/7 here in the studio. And if you do listen to some of them as the most recent ones have been, you will hear like, Dr. Farsalinos' video. If you listen to Dr. Farsalinos' video with headphones on, you will hear clearly the sound of my studio, operating with fan. And then when I'm turning my mic off, to have a vape or something like that, you hear it go dead silent and Farsalino, it's great. And then you hear it when I come back on. Yeah, I mean, it's that noticeable. So that's a problem for a bunch of reasons. And, this is the right way to do it is with an expander gate. So that should be dead silence for you, which is cool. And so what happens is this has phantom power on it, and this expander gate will just be going all the time, and just out of safety reasons for it, because I had one other one just died on me about a year ago, and so blah, 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 blah. I turned the phantom power off, which essentially turns the power off from the unit through to the mic. And so that's where I like to leave it. I don't want any accidents happening. So when I turned on the phantom power, my control mix was up because I was watching a YouTube video. My mic was already hot, and I got this huge, massive feedback loop going like instantaneously, like down in my ear, shrieking. And I just reached over and I started turning dials to stop it. I thought I was turning right dials. And so nevertheless, 30 seconds later, I got Grim on the phone and no audio. And regular fixes weren't going to happen. And I literally screwed it up myself, just a pot. So that, I could use a tech guy for that. There's no doubt. All right, so let's see here. But there is delay in your voice. All right. Brent, we agree with Wrench. You're out of phase frame rate. Okay. Well, that's obviously, the entire reason why something bad like that is happening right now is because the software is totally fucked. So, I mean, it's not supposed to have two of me here. This is shocking. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? All right, here's what I'm going to do. It should be fine on YouTube. Facebook's a bit more touchy. So I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to reboot up on Wirecast 12, which is the stable version, which doesn't have any of these problems. And I'll switch shots and let's see if we have any of that audio issue. if you guys can hear it, because it could just be me. I mean, it's there, guys. I mean, when I was editing the Whole Truth videos and in the early batches there with Dr. Tyndall and Dr. Fossilinos and stuff like that, I mean, I don't know how anybody can't notice those glitches, during shot checks. But anyhow, this software is a piece of crap. I'm going to open up the old version. That's the only way we're going to be able to do this tomorrow and tonight. And we get a little test to see if you can hear the glitches. And I'll share with you some of the content. Everybody hang tight. Facebookers, you might have to look for a third stream. We'll know in a minute. I think we're getting there. I think we're live. Oh, okay. All right. This should do. All right, so there is the wide. Let me check to see. It's been changing. It's not been remembering its. No, and it didn't. 1920 by 1080. 30 frames per second. Put that in. That is the wide. Obviously, it's the wide with my back here. Okay, and so I see we got some glare on the, did that just happen? Couldn't have. Yeah. Happening, it's glare on the lens. All right, well, I can flag that. Jesus. Okay, guys, I think we are stable enough that I can spend some time talking here. So just let me ask you, is there anybody out there that's got a Skype set up, ready to go, and is brave enough to dial into the show? Man, the worst part about this is that when I get in tomorrow, it's going to be just as fucked up again. All right, let's just see here. You need Zoom. Yeah, fair enough, man. I used Zoom for a couple of years. I mean, I've been Skype forever because it was the first. And from a business point of view, most people use Skype for years and years and years. Years and years. But I did go to Zoom, and I did use Zoom for about 2 years. Loved it. It was really good. Way better than Skype. Thing is that Skype, in a very smart way, Sean Casey, Mr. Casey. All right, let me just connect you here. Yeah. Just give me a second here. I'm going to make sure that I can fire you to. There we go. And okay. And are you going to send me your video, Sean? Well, it's a television show. Excellent. And your footage is going over. You see me here. Can you just 1, 2, 3, 4, please? What? Again, please? I'm going to have to hold on. I'm not certain you're coming through. The audio is not making it. It's just a billion things here, isn't it? Oh, I see what's going on. Yeah, well, yeah, it's, I wish it did not be the case, right? But 1 second. Are you there? Okay. And just 1, 2, 3, 4, please. Okay, and we're 1 second. This is why I get the call in like a half an hour before. I was kind of... Anyhow, 1 second. Okay. Well, like I always like to remind people is that all of these little challenges can get fixed with about an extra $100,000 in this year. So let me just get you into the shot here. Okay. Oh, you should be hearing me through Skype. Well, if you're hearing, kind of on top of things, then that's generally going to be because 1 sec. Let me just get you into the shot here. Oh, that'll do it. And there we go. And let me get your mic in here. So everybody, this is quite the treat here. For those of you, of course, who do know, this is Sean Casey. He's the president and CEO of Flavor Art International, which is makes the flavors. And of course, huge advocate, founder and former. Well, do you guys go president for CVA or what was it? Okay, great. Right. 1 second. Let me just make sure I've got you here. And turn that off. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4 for me one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And one last time. 1 second. One last time and go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. So Sean, how are you, buddy?
Oh, we were just talking before dinner. Just the same, right? I'm fine today, although I mean it's just a shit show, right? How many times do I have to cry? How many stores do I have to see close? Right?
Yeah. And because your business, obviously, you live here in Canada, you're Canadian, you're president of the CVA and everything else, but a lot of people might not know this. But your business obviously is in the big, huge behemoth down south.
Well, my business is global, right?
Right.
Flavor Arts in 40 countries around the world, right? I'm dealing with England the next day, Italy the next day, Ireland the next day, Poland. It just happens to be I focus on North America, and my business partner focuses on Europe, right? But I'm watching this globally, right? This is a global scene to me, right? By no means is it even a North American scene. I spend as much time looking at what's going on, today in France as I do Canada, right?
Right. Right. So, I mean, obviously this week we heard from PEI pretty definitively that not on my watch there will be a flavor ban.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty definitive statement, considering, right? This guy is an absolute Puritan, right? So,
Yeah, I mean,
we,
is there an actual type, do you think? I mean, I don't want to be one of those kinds of people that, is talking types, but
yeah, politically motivated, right? It's all about the votes. I've come down to a point in time where in politics it's about money or power and votes, right? It can be defined into one of those two categories, right?
so yeah, no, exactly. And I'm just taking a look here at our YouTubes and stuff. Yeah, guys, this is a surprise guest. Sean Casey came on. Help me debug some gear here because for some reason it's all crazy. And we're doing a chat because this guy is got his finger on the pulse of so much when it comes to vaping. I think everything but maybe actually in the White House. Or do you have the pulse of the White House?
Yeah, we're not going to go there, Brent. You can't lure me in there. Okay, absolutely, I have a pulse there.
Oh, that's
right.
Fair enough.
You know, yeah, I can't
you.
talk. I can't talk about that stuff, right?
All right.
I mean,
all
the
right.
public stuff, within VTA or AIMSA or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot going on, right?
Well, so let's talk about actually a couple of things. So I'm going to pull this up. You heard about the whole Trump call do you say, is it Azar or Azar?
Azar.
Azar. Gonna have to remember that because I knew that it was you that did that. So the Trump story on Axios this week, you saw that?
Yep.
And what do you? And can we kibitz about something that? Can we bits?
Yeah. We can kibitz about that.
Okay.
I mean, he got dragged in by Azar and his wife, right? I mean, Melania dragged him into this stupidly as well, right? It was the biggest, politically bad decision that he could have made for votes,
I
right?
agree.
Not maybe optically, but the Democrats hate vaping, so obviously it's a negative thing there. And VTA, honestly, they did a very, very good job because if they didn't do what they did, the industry would be gone right now, for sure. Right? We're hanging on by a political thread right now.
Right.
If this was not an election year, if this was happening next year, I mean, I've gone through so many scenarios inside of my head and with lobbyists and lawyers. If this was next year, if all of this was happening next year, we would be absolutely dead.
That's amazing. I mean, in the end, Trump has turned out to be, to some degree, a savior, to a little bit of a degree.
A culpable, greedy ally.
Right? Hold on. I'm listening. I'm not ignoring you by leaving you.
Yeah. You're looking at your monitors.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to load your name key here as fast as possible. Well, and I've almost got it. So that's the one decent thing about having everything else but your software be professional is you've got some shot in hell at finding stuff like keys and everything else. But anyhow, I'll leave it at that. It's not close at hand. So, okay, so let's, what I want to do here is, because I've got a bit of a surprise. I may have something you might have heard, Sean, maybe not. And for our viewers out there that have stuck through this insanity here, I've got a clip, an audio clip from HHS Secretary Azar from 2 days ago on a call-in show in Ohio. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, Sean?
Oh, yeah. I watched it live.
You watched it live?
Yeah.
Oh, so now I don't know, is this clip out there much? Because I somebody just gave it to me and I haven't seen it elsewhere yet.
It's on Axios. Yeah, there's a SoundCloud. You can SoundCloud it, right?
Yeah,
the whole show it's on iHeart Radio, right?
Right.
The whole show is recorded on iHeart.
Great, and I've got a clip of it, the relevant portion here. So first, before we do that, let's go to. Wait a minute. Right? Oh, I see what's happened. Oh man.
It was so important to me. I actually had my lobbyist transcribe the whole thing. I've got it in writing here.
Oh, so you've got it in writing in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so let's just see if I'm able to actually get this. Oh, sorry. You're still on mute. There we go. Wow, look at that. Unbelievable. All right, so here's the piece. We've got it curated on regulatorwatch.com. Scoop: Trump told he regrets involvement in vaping policy. Now, most people that are watching our show has already heard about this. Key thing here, the quote, Trump is, I should never have done that effing vaping thing, Trump said during an impromptu call on speakerphone in an Oval Office meeting. Now, this is a call that the president apparently, from what is in the story and stuff like that, he's made, and other pieces that I've read, he makes a practice of doing these impromptu phone calls to cabinet members.
No, he was lining it up. He was with Brad Pasquale,
right,
and his election campaign directors. It was an election campaign meeting, right, specifically, right, and they were bringing up key indicators, and they said, based upon health issues, people will vote against you. Your numbers are very bad on the subject of health. And he's like, why? Right? And they started going through it. And like the second point that they made was vaping.
Huh.
Right? Yeah. Maybe I'm giving you too much. Well, I can give
no, and I think, I don't know if you're giving me us too much.
Yeah, but that's what happened. Okay. So that was the meeting he was in. So he just haphazardly picks up with Azar, right, in the middle of this meeting, right? Nice. Put his feet to the fire on these things, right? Because he's looking at his polling stats and numbers, right? And clearly, Brad is on top of, what's going to win him the election or not win him the election, right? And this is still out there like a big, herringbone, right? It'll be interesting to me because all of this shit's going to go down in May, right, when the PMTA closes, right? And that's mid-election. It's like the worst time for his polling. The worst time. If it happened in, say, September, early October, it'll be too late in the election. People have made their decision already. The early votes were in, okay? It would be not even an issue, all the voters. But May, it's going to be an issue. Right?
Well, you make a really good point, because actually I was thinking of it the other way. I was thinking that from the FDA's point of view, when they lost the lawsuit in, NGO versus FDA, and they lost that lawsuit, in their response to it, long before they ever appealed the ruling, they had the opportunity to say how much time did they need, or they thought the deadline should be for PMTA. And it was FDA that coughed up 10 months. Nobody else. It wasn't the judge. It wasn't the NGOs. It was the FDA. So for some reason in their mind, FDA went, May is going to be the most opportune time for this to happen. And so while I think it's debatable, I think you make a really good point with regards to Trump, the timing when it comes to Trump, the election. I still come back to go, why did FDA pick 10 months?
They didn't. Okay. It was Judge Grimm that said 10 months. He said 1 month, okay, and they said that's not enough, and then he said 10 months, and they agreed with his number. And remember, they've appealed this. The FDA has appealed the ruling.
Yeah, no, but that doesn't. But the remedy though was was their suggestion, and I do believe, this is what we reported on, Sean. I bet the farm on the fact that
FDA, you might be right.
Yeah, FDA in the remedy said 10 months. The judge had not, he was waiting for what FDA was going to suggest. The FDA said 10 months. We can do it at 10. So they looked, that was August, and they looked down and they went, we can have this done by May. So I think it's FDA that was doing timing based on the election. So I agree that this PMTA deadline is based on the election, and I think it's what's right for the deep state, public health deep state. They picked the date.
When did we go to Washington? When was the rally?
November 9th.
Okay, so the ruling and that date happened September 11th. Is that correct? That's when the final ruling went down.
I can give you the right dates on that. Go ahead though.
I'm remembering always the September 11th thing, right?
Yeah, no, this was before that. We did a long, pretty good, strong NGO versus FDA piece in August.
So my point is, whatever the specific time, it was early enough that we were not that much of a thorn in his side. He did not understand, and the VTA mounting of stuff didn't happen until after September, right? All of the, economic analysis and stuff of that nature.
Right.
So do you really think that some bureaucrat, especially, the past FDA commissioner who was leaving, would have been thinking politically about Trump's future and politics when they came up with 10 months?
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's what I'm saying. I think they were thinking for their own political thing, because keep in mind, right, that the Democrats will get hurt by this closing no matter what anyhow, because they own public health. They own public health. It's been all the Democratic senators that for years have been the ones writing the letters, month after month to FDA. I mean, it's all the progressive governors that have lost their freaking minds and are implementing these bans and so forth and so on. It's not Republicans. It's not conservatives. This is a progressive left thing. And so I think FDA took a look at that and went, well, we don't want to be closing down these businesses in September, because I don't think they could afford to do that. I think Hillary lost a lot of votes late in the election last time.
Right.
But that's just tossing that out there.
Yeah, well, I could tell you that this Scott Sands guy on iHeartRadio was very, very well briefed. His questions were absolutely excellent, right? He had some decent facts, and it's interesting because he almost got Azar to lie, which was what I loved about it, right?
Ooh. So I've got this queued up right now. So why don't we see here if the technology works, and why don't we give it a listen? I'll leave your mic hot. So if you want to,
I'll just shut up. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But if you want to cut in, I can pause this, and you can make some comments. So
yeah, there's a couple key lines. I mean, I'm looking at right now on the transcript that I'm focused on right now.
Okay, so just kind of pipe up, and I can pause. And then we can talk about that. So okay, all right. Well, let's just see here. We'll know in a second if there's no. 1 second. If it's not one thing. Scarlet. 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
My MP3 is saved as Azar Scott Sands show.
I've got it as I've got it actually. I've got it in a file. So let me just see here. What did I do with that? Where did you just send that to me, or?
I can.
Is it the clipped version? That's okay. That's okay. Sure. Yeah, the clip version is it's just the short chunk of him. So, but here I've got it right here. So. Okay. Yeah, it's just one thing after another. All right. There we go. All right. Okay.
Skating to where the puck is going.
So, a question for you, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, so guys, everybody here, just as I'm about to start this is HHS Secretary Azar on the Scott Sands show. And he's in Cincinnati, Ohio, or do you know where in Ohio?
Somewhere like that. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And here he is. You know what? Actually, I can drop this to the layer below and then leave our video on.
Terry, I happen to be a cigar smoker, and I vape sometimes. Some of the new restrictions that are coming out, both against tobacco and vaping, are affecting me personally. I would hate to see a huge increase in taxes on tobacco products like cigars, but also the vape industry has 100,000 people who work in that sector with 15,000 small businesses around the country, and some of the president's new restrictions would run all of those people out of work. What can be done to move those forward?
Would not at all do that. Just to reassure you, the president has struck a very balanced approach that simply, under law, under the statute, which we did not pass, but under the law, by May of this year, all e-cigarettes, not all vaping products, just e-cigarettes, which are nicotine delivery devices, are required by law to come in and seek FDA approval. They have been on the market illegally up to this date because they've not been approved by FDA.
But, Mr. Secretary, there are only 7 labs worldwide that conduct those PMTA tests, which drive the cost to an unreasonable level for these small businesses.
Well, actually, that's what's Congress passed the law that we have to enforce. The courts were under a court order, actually, that they have to come in and get approval. We're working with small businesses and the Vaping Association to actually create pathways that would streamline approval for the open tank small vape shop-based products. Really, the focus of what the president's talked about, what we're focused on, are the cartridges in the systems with kid-attractive flavors, not the open vape systems, the open tank vaping systems. And as to all products, we're committed to working with all actors in the system to get them through the regulatory process that Congress set up as expeditiously as possible. That regulatory process is not something that the president created. That was created by Congress back in the Obama administration. We just have to implement it.
Well, I'm sitting here smoking or vaping on a orange creamsicle vape liquid right now, so I guess I've got a kid flavor. Then tonight I'll have a nice Maduro Padron.
Right.
I'm a pillar of health, as you can tell. Mr. Secretary, one more question, and I know we're not here to talk about the impeachment, but I know you spent some time with Ken Starr in the Independent Counsel's office. As a
You're muted. You're muted.
I don't know if we have anything there to
there you go.
Talk about with the impeachment. So, all right. So there was a lot there. What did you hear? You've got the transcript there. So why don't you pick something that for us to start early on? I mean, it was the question. What was the question? It was about PMTA. I was like shocked. Wow, what a question.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he spent that much time on it. Clearly, he was motivated, and he had been rehearsed on the subject. So, okay, to whoever it is out there that prep the host, okay, 2 thumbs up to you. Okay, thank God, right? First off, I love how nervous he was, right? I love the fact that he threw the political line. Okay, 100,000 jobs, 15,000 small businesses around the country, and he used the word the restrictions would eliminate and run these people out of work, right? So I mean, he had the guy like literally on the rope, and you could hear the nervousness. I mean, his laugh. I want to get a looped recording of Azar's laugh. If you could do that for me in this, that's because it's so funny. He is so nervous. He knows, okay, that he's on air and he's got to answer this question somehow, right? So I thought it was very interesting. He said that the president has struck a very balanced approach that simply, under the law, under the statute, he specifies, which we have not passed, but under the law by May of this year. I thought that was very interesting. So he's totally deferring. This is a liberal thing. This wasn't a Trump thing. We didn't bring this in, okay? And then at the end of that he says, okay. And this is something that the president didn't create. It was created by Congress back in the Obama administration. We just have to implement it. Well, I thought you got elected to get rid of spurious regulations. Wasn't that one of your things?
They've ended up getting rid of more than they ever thought they would already. So
yeah. So like all of a sudden, we can't get rid of this because Congress passed it. right? But
Well, and I mean that's bullshit anyhow, because we all know Congress passes a light framework and then it basically delegates all the real lawmaking off to the regulatory agency, and FDA being the largest one in the most contentious space, and with drugs and all. So I mean, clearly FDA has shown that it's got the ability to move deadlines around, change guidance, not enforce guidance. So I mean, what's law and not law? That's pretty up in the air. If Trump wanted to do it, he could do an executive order tomorrow.
I agree. The thing that gets me is that I'm not a lawyer, okay, and by no means anywhere close to understanding everything, but I'm very, very well advised, right? I have great lawyers that surround me, and for Azar to say, well, actually, what Congress passed to the law that we have to enforce, okay, we are under a court order actually that they have to come in and get approval. Guess what? That's a very contentious issue. Okay, they have to appeal. I mean, I've talked to VTA lawyers, my lawyers, a whole bunch of lawyers, and I've sat in these rooms many, many times. Okay, if they let this go through, it puts in question, FDA's ability to actually do what it's supposed to do.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, light bulb just went off. That's why FDA suggested only 10 months. Because of course, so for everyone to understand, this lawsuit was NGOs, nonprofit governmental organizations, right? These health groups and everything. They banded together. They sued FDA for FDA moving all of its, compliance deadlines and stuff like that for PMTA. Because at one point, if everyone recalls, Scott Gottlieb had moved it to 2022, right? And this was 2017 when this was done. I mean, huge, right? So they sued FDA and FDA lost. Now, this whole thing was there's no way that you can undermine a federal agency's ability and discretion to set guidance, to set enforcement policy, to set schedules, to do all of the things that agencies have to do to fulfill their mandate, what their role is in the whole process. So for that judge to rule against the FDA, brutal, right? That's just brutal. But FDA did not file an appeal for some time later. I think it was several months later. And so by selecting 10-month deadline, they knew that they would be in their window to get their appeal in, and it would then only be a few more months, and this deadline would hit. Because you're right, they have to win this lawsuit, but they need the PMTA to already have been into effect to do the destruction that they wanted to do, right? Yeah. Before they. Otherwise, they can't, if they start fighting, oh my goodness, Sean, that's what it is.
So the two lines that I'm focused on right now with our lobbyists, and these are both by Azar in that final paragraph before they moved on to talk about the impeachment, is Azar said, we're working with small businesses and vaping associations to actually create pathways that would streamline approval for the open small vape shop-based products. That's one. So the key word in that line is pathways, right? And I'm trying to define what pathways are, and I'm trying to just understand how they're working with small business and vaping associations, because clearly, being part of this community, unlike other flavor companies, I watch all of the boards relative to advocacy. And I don't know any small businesses or any vaping associations, certainly none of the ones that I'm on the board of directors to be working with them. And the question is, what is that pathway, right? Because guess what? There's companies out there in this marketplace that are spending millions and millions of dollars right now, to hopefully be ready by May, right? Millions. Right? These people, this isn't money that they just got sitting around, in junk drawers. Like, I don't need a new Ferrari this year, so I'll pay for a PMTA, right? Okay. And it's not one Ferrari, by the way, it's about, 20 Ferraris. Okay. But to get a PMTA through, right? I mean, so, I mean, what is this pathway that we're talking about? This is false hope. You know what this is? This is false hope. Okay. How many companies have to get through the PMTA for them to feel that they've satisfied a appropriate for the protection of public health. That's that big line, APPH. I've memorized this now. I've got it sitting on my desk because everything is about that, right? You know,
Just
the
to make sure
second
everyone
one,
heard that, we're talking about the net benefit to public health. That's what you
Yeah.
have to prove.
But what is the net benefit to public health that FDA has to do? If they let 3 massive e-liquid companies through, guys I don't even deal with, right? Okay, the big guys, right? Go through and with open e-liquid. Is that satisfying? Okay, public health from their perspective. Okay, there's probably, I mean, if I have 500 customers, and I certainly don't have everybody, there's got to be, and a lot of those customers are co-packers that have 40 co-packing clients. There's got to be, got to believe there's got to be 2,000 e-liquid companies in the United States, right? Big and small, right? So from the very smallest to the very biggest, right? Okay, how many of those people, how many pathways, how wide is that path do they have to create? Okay, is it just a narrow pathway, right? Do they have to satisfy every retailer in the marketplace? Anyway, and then he goes on and he doubles down to almost say the same thing later on. He said, we are committed to working with all the actors. I like the word actor. Okay, I thought it was a good use of adjective. Okay, in the system to get them through the regulatory process. Okay, and then he defers. Okay, that Congress set up expeditiously as possible.
Right, and he does use a folksy kind of a term, like we just want to bring them in. We want to
the actors. We're going to all these actors.
We're just going to bring them in, right?
We're working with the actors, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? We had one meeting with them in front of Trump. Is that working with them? Okay, because I can tell you, there's been, from SFATA, from AIMSA, from VTA, there hasn't been a meeting with the HHS or White House, okay, of any consequence, okay, as an organization since the big Trump, okay, Politico thing. There hasn't been anything, right? I was talking to SFATA. They're desperately trying to figure out. God bless them. Okay, trying to figure something out, right? I know pretty much what every player in the marketplace is trying to do to get through a PMTA of consequence, and okay, none of them have an idea, okay, of what these pathways are, right now, and okay, and I hate to break it to everybody, but okay, what's the come down, okay, from a PMTA cost, and what's the cost of a PMTA, Brent? It's somewhere in the nature of $5 to $12 million. I've seen a lot of quotes from all of the majors, right, from clients directly dealing with them, right? I was just looking at a quote the other day. It's $8.5 million.
That's beyond insane. To find the right words for that, and of course FDA knows this. They know this.
Yeah, they know what a full literature review. They know what toxicology costs. Okay, they're asking for clinical. Okay, short-term clinical, right? But okay, still clinical. All of these things have $1 million price tags. You start adding them up, layering them up. Okay, it's astronomical. And to what? To accomplish what? An arbitrary guidance process, right? An arbitrary process. If there's no checklist, there's lots of guidance, but there's nothing that says, if you fill out all 17,000 of these points, I give you authorization. You're good to go, Brent. There's nothing that says that. It says, here's our guidance. Here's our recommended suggestions. You should do a butt ton of freaking science and blah, blah, blah. Okay? We're suggesting you do all of this crap. No guarantees.
In your business experience, how would you characterize their actions at FDA with this? Have they been an honest actor in terms of trying to regulate this industry?
They're calculatably irresponsible, right? They've calculated how irresponsible they are, right? They're purposefully ambiguous, right? I mean, if you look at, as we all know, the track record of what it takes to get through a PMTA, right? The past PMTAs that have actually got through are in the billions of dollars, right? And these guys have had opportunity to create topography and user data over decades. Our industry is only a decade old, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. That's why it's not regulated yet.
Snus has been around since the 1800s, 1700s, right? Vaping's been around 10 years.
If you make a product that's brand new, that includes in some manner the physical tobacco plant, we'll be happy to have you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, for me, okay, right now, working with our clients, because we're very, very involved with this process, right? We talk all the time, right? It's not just advocacy, but then it's the step down is actually working with our clients, right? Being participative, investing in research, and beyond just doing our part. Okay, we're doing the other parts, right? We're trying to figure out this whole process. We're paying for FDA lawyers. We're paying for lobbyists, okay, to help figure this whole process out. And many times we're getting the calls from, the advocacy organizations, lobbyists ourselves, to get our read on things now, right? It's not uncommon for me to get a call from one of them to say, hey, what does your team say?
Right.
And I'm trying to understand those terms to actually create pathways that would streamline. Here's the problem in my mind. What does streamline mean to you? Okay. If the cost is $10 million, is streamlining it, bringing it back to $5 million? Because it's still way out of the realm. That's the problem. Right?
Yeah,
they don't
it's
understand.
not even. Oh, sorry, one sec. It's not even just cost we're talking about here. Just the whole idea of being in the proving it to be a net public benefit, going all the way back to the 2016 language, right? Is literally actually saying they want. This is how they originally framed it, but you've got, because it was going to apply to vape stores too as well. I think that's what everybody forgets about this. This proving net public benefit in the original 2016 deeming regs and in all the stuff that was around that, you would actually have to prove within a certain mile radius around your vape store that your store is providing a net public benefit. And so it goes back to that.
As an e-liquid company, Brent, if you look at all the reporting that came out in the last 3-4 months and the details on that, as an e-liquid company, you would have to have such control over your distribution that you would need to understand the demographics and topography and the appropriateness for public health safety of each of your clients. That's insane. No one understands that today.
For each of your clients.
Well, each of your retailers, right? You're literally being made to be responsible, okay, for the actions of each of your retailers. Well, e-liquid companies sell to distributors. Distributors sell to sub-distributors. Sub-distributors sell to retailers. Okay, that's the whole problem, right? Right now, there is no controlled distribution. And they're looking for very, very specific reporting, okay, that only comes from the ability to trace and track 100% of your product, right? I mean, we're looking, with clients right now at very sophisticated trace and track stuff. But back to my point, pathway, I mean, what is the stratification? Okay, my analogy in my head is you and I understand the Vancouver housing marketplace, right? It's crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if we're talking about, starter houses in the 800s, way out in fricking, Moody or somewhere, like where's where out there?
Or like even Mission or something. Yeah.
Yeah, Mission, right? Okay, we're looking at, affordable houses, right? For our families. 800,000 is expensive, but we're talking about what's reasonable to us in our realm. Okay. Well, guess what? 800,000 would buy you in Louisiana a fucking mansion, like 6,000 square feet, 5 acres with a goddamn pool, right? You're not getting a West Van 3,000 square foot home with a view, for 800,000 in Vancouver, are you?
No, no,
right? Not. Right. So I mean, it's all relative, right? Okay. So if they understand it's $10 million, which I don't think they do, but I think they know it's expensive because I think they've been told, right? And if it's $10 million, just as throwing a number out there, okay, a little high, but let's say it's $5 million, right? What is a streamlined, okay, approval pathway that they would create? Something that costs $2.5 million? Well, it's still out of the realm. Okay, they might as well be from Nigeria, right? I mean, because Nigeria, they can't afford $20,000 for a house, right? And a really nice house is probably $100,000 there, right? A mansion, right? So it's like economic stratification that they don't understand still. They talk about, okay, small vape shop based business. Okay, they talk about these jobs, but they don't understand small business in America themselves, the government, right? They don't understand, okay, that these people live, okay, hand to mouth. Okay, they're not going on, okay, $10,000, okay, Euro cruises in the summer, right? They're lucky if they go to the beach for a week, right?
Exactly. I mean,
right? That's a great holiday. We're going to the beach for a week. Oh, that sounds great, right? Okay, they're not saying I'm taking the fucking Orient Express, okay, from London to Venice, okay, I just priced it out the other day, okay, $33,000, right?
So let's just pull this back here for a minute and just kind of recap, and then I'm going to let you go because I think I've gotten everything sorted, and I've got to get home. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting conversation. For those that don't know, we've got the head of regulatory and corporate affairs from Imperial Tobacco Canada coming on, and they are the largest tobacco company in Canada. They're big, they're huge. It is big tobacco, there's no doubt. And they own Vype. It is the Vype brand, right, Sean?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So they own Vype and are obviously active in market. And they have launched, and we'll obviously be talking about this tomorrow in great detail, but they've launched, just give everyone a sneak peek here. They've launched a campaign called it's factsnotfear.ca, and the misinformation epidemic, which I like that. They're pretty sassy, these guys. One of the reasons why I'm very excited to be having Imperial Tobacco on is because out of all the big tobacco companies, or all the tobacco companies in Canada that I've been watching, and the ones that have gotten into the market with a vaping device, these guys are the only ones that are in the fight. I mean, they're in the fight. This isn't the only thing they've done, but this is the best thing they've done so far. And the timing is good, and I find that the tone is right on the money, and they're not really pulling any punches, which is fantastic. And of course, we'll have a full chat with the folks at Imperial. Eric Gagnon. I'm going to get the pronunciation of the name right. I do so little French. You're probably better than I am, Sean. But Eric, yeah, from Imperial.
I won't take any shots, but let me just say this. I would love to see them take some leadership, right? I've met with various executives with that company over the last 3 years. In my position, both as a executive board member with CVA, as well as through Flavor Art. We've had business dealings and meetings over the last 3 years. And I've waited for them to take some leadership, right? Not reactive leadership, but true leadership. They have the ability, they have the science. They presented extremely well back in that time when Buddy from the Fifth Estate, or remember they did that vaping episode?
Yeah,
we were in Toronto together.
Yeah, Terry. I think it was,
and whatever dude's name is,
yeah.
the main younger male anchor on that show. And he went to London, and they presented extremely well, right? And I've met board members from Europe. I've met senior executives from Canada. I've met their GR staff. all pretty impressive people. But and now with Vita and everything, Brent, and them being in a leadership founding board position with Juul and Japan Tobacco, I've been waiting for them to see them take true leadership, right? If they want to take market dominance, and they're getting, quite frankly, the shit kicked out of them in sales in Canada, right? You know that Juul is just like ruling the roost. I mean, they're not even close, right? I'm still being optimistic, right? There's no hate in my heart, right? This is all about harm reduction, right? I can make money doing a zillion things. I just love vaping. But I wish that they would truly take some true leadership. And it'll be interesting to hear, because I've seen this guy every time I've been in Ottawa, okay, to speak, right? And all the times that CVA has had the opportunity to speak in front of Senate and Parliament and things of that nature. And I've seen Andre, because he's their main guy when it goes in front of camera. And he speaks extremely well. And he's obviously got a lot of experience working in the tobacco sphere. And they have a lot of experience working in the vape sphere, because they were by far the leader for a long time in Europe in the big tobacco pod-based side of the business. And they do quite well in Europe. And they actually participate in Europe in the open e-liquid industry. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. And they sell bottled e-liquid in Europe. They own their own flavor company. They have their own line of both closed and open systems. And open systems are a mainstay of their business. I mean, pods are, hot and crazy right now with Salt Nick and shit. But I hope that we'll be able to see whether these guys can actually be seen as an ambassador, because that's what they should be able to do, right? If they want to. And the question in my mind, okay, and I have my sincere doubts that they actually care about anything except the quarterly stock report, right? And that everybody from Andre all the way up the line, and he's very low down the line. I mean, there's probably 25 tiers of executive above him to where guys that I've met with that are actually board members in Europe, whether he is actually directed to truly take leadership or to somehow represent and defend his corporate brand. And is all of that website, and I've seen that website, is it anything more than just defending a corporate brand, okay, truly to shareholders, not even to the public?
Well, I will find a way to ask that question in somewhat more delicate terms. But
I thought that was me being delicate, right? Okay.
Well, there's difference.
Okay.
There's always difference in the context, that's for sure. But yeah. I totally understand what your concern is there and what that question is. And, I'm not going to give away, what I've got planned for the questions tomorrow, but that certainly has always been one of them. I mean, if there's one thing that you have always hammered home whenever I brought up conversations about potentially speaking with Big Tobacco and so forth, is that where's that $10 million ad campaign? And the worse that the misinformation gets, the more that you're like, where's Big Tobacco? Because the idea here, and I won't be able to say this with quite the same passion tomorrow, just because, obviously I'm with the guest I'm interviewing, but the fact of the matter is that, I mean, the information has been so bad out there. We are facing the Goliaths of all Goliaths with this, network of media, academia, regulators, and nonprofits all together in this horrible mess. Like, they will lie their faces off to achieve the ends. And the ends is the destruction of vaping. And that's just the first part of their ends, by the way. So, that's the deal. They're a Goliath, and we're less than a David. So, if there's any room for Big Tobacco in this space, it's to come in and be a Goliath and go up against the Goliath and fight the fuck it out, okay? Because nobody else can do it. And until that they do it, they're going to just be resented forever.
Brent, most people don't understand your experience and expertise in marketing, right? And understanding marketing and buy spends in advertising. Okay. But on that subject, I mean, quite honestly, when Vita came out and they touted that they were spending and committing to that Jules and BAT were committing to $300,000 over 3 years, I just about laughed my head off, right? Like, that's so trivial. Okay. With their budgets, okay, it should have been 30 million, okay, not 300,000. Because I've spent more than they're fucking committing to, okay, as a small company, okay, in the last year than multi-billion dollar companies are committing to, right? So, and they somehow thought that that was like a big number, and maybe $100,000 a year for 3 years is a big number, okay, to some small business, okay, but it's not a big number, okay. And the question is, okay, leading up, okay, as I just did, okay, when do you make the spend? At the bitter end or at the very front? Okay, it couldn't get any fucking worse right now. If they were going to ever spend the big money, when would they have spent it? When will they spend it? Okay, because that website is peanut money. Okay, they did that with in-house staff. Okay, they didn't even go out to a contract to pay for web and
actually, I don't know if
development.
you're right about that, because I did look up to see who their marketing company was. I believe that did make it. So
really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they do have a national agency behind this campaign. So I don't want to I don't want to allow our show to go too far that way. We've got them on the show tomorrow. I'll get you back on after at some point.
Opinionated guests.
Opinionated guests is okay. It's all good. It's all good.
This is a rant session.
I just don't like salt in the earth for pre-guests, right? So that's
again, the question is, okay, to you, okay, when do you make the spend? If you're going to drop the dollar, right? You're the VP of marketing, okay, for Imperial Tobacco Canada, and you're in the shit that you're in, okay. Your market share is way below what you thought it would be when you came in. Okay, you don't have your traditional market share. Jules ruling the roost. Okay, and Canada's and the provinces are picking you apart piece by piece right now. I mean, the market's against them. Okay, no advertising, no flavors. Okay, the restrictions that are happening provincially, and we haven't seen what Health Canada is coming out with yet. Okay, and I hope everybody that watches RegWatch, okay, is prepared that, okay, if you don't think that something still big is coming down the pipe from Health Canada, okay, hold on to your fucking seats, folks. Okay, this little thing about advertising restrictions. Oh my God, that's not even the first volley. Right.
Well, the advertising restrictions was just the very first of the consultations. There's the whole other consultation that they haven't done anything with yet, and that's the whole ball of wax. That's everything from device style and design, form factor, flavors, nicotine, everything.
We haven't even got to manufacturing standards, quality, and none of that yet, right?
No.
All of that's still yet to come, right? Okay. Health Canada has been very reticent, okay, to act. They're very calculatedly figuring out, okay, what they're going to do, and the press is very negative against them right now, right? I saw, the piece that came out, okay, from the Health Council of Canada or whatever the other day that Maria was reporting on, and they were very negative towards Health Canada, right? And the provinces, this is for me, Brent, and in our history together, which has been now 5 years, right?
In its fifth, yeah.
Right. Okay, that we've been working together. Okay, initially when you exclusively reported for CVA as a supporter of RegWatch. This is my history and advocacy repeating itself. Okay, something needs to be done. The HESA report's out. Health Canada under Rona Ambrose, God forbid that she becomes the leader of the Conservative Party. Because she's being looked at, okay, did nothing, right? And all the provinces acted. Okay, we have an issue right now. Youth uptake is an issue. I'm not going to call it an epidemic because I don't believe it is. But we have a problem, and Health Canada is not acting. And now what happens again? Okay, almost in the same freaking order. Nova Scotia, BC, right? Were two of the, then Ontario, right? Those were the three provinces that initiated. Alberta and Saskatchewan still haven't done nothing, okay, in the 5 years that we've been dealing with this, right? And we're experiencing the whole damn thing all over again.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah.
Deja vu for me. That's how I feel.
Well, it's deja vu. It's far more dangerous, right? Like the provinces aren't messing around. This isn't like a whole process right now where they're enacting new legislation or even properly amending old stuff. They're looking for every trick in the book to be able to, ram stuff through with existing powers or adding powers. Like in BC, they're basically defining vaping as a health hazard, which then shoves it into the Public Health Act and then gives them all these power. The Public Health Act, which already exists, gives them all these powers to do all these, extrajudicial things. None of it's passed by law, or has to pass in the House, the legislature.
Yeah. Clearly, I've learned that policy implementation does not have to be based upon science or rationality, right? It's an unfortunate learning experience.
So I totally agree. So then let me take, absolutely. That's the administrative state. Okay. So I'm going to read a quote here to close off our little thing here. Let me see if here I could find it easily. Now, do you know who Whittaker Chambers is?
No.
Okay. Never heard the name.
Nope.
Okay. The name, it was a name that I had heard, briefly through, maybe some documentary or something like that. It was only after the lights went on for me on the conservative side and getting the hell away from the left.
I can only guess it has to do something with socialism or communism, knowing you.
Well, so an American in the 1920s ended up joining the Communist Party USA, like so many thousands of people, right? Who did, New Yorker, writer, that kind of thing. Ended up like being one of the top guys in the communist underground, running the cells of agents, Americans that were communists who worked in the federal government in the U.S. There was hundreds and hundreds. People have been poisoned from the progressive rewriting of history and the whole McCarthy thing and the Red Scare. That wasn't a scare. They were actually communists. They caught it, and that's not, communists, aren't they nice and cute? Communists are vicious. They're selfish, vicious destroyers. And they look like you and me if they want to, right? This is the type, right? These people, right? And so you must have heard the name Alger Hiss.
Yep.
Yeah, the famous at the State Department, like right up at the top, the attorney oh God. Anyhow, so this was like massive global news. You never heard about Whittaker much because, of course, he's on the right. So he's just wiped out of history. But he's the guy that exposed everything. And for 2 years was testifying. And so Nixon's hearings and stuff like that, Nixon was the chair. These were all of the first of those hearings before McCarthy's stuff.
So this is just after World War II era, right? Like
the
45 to 55 era.
The trials, Alger Hiss's trial was, must have been just right after. That's right, 1948, right. Yeah. And then this book was written in 51. And there's just this really interesting quote. Okay. Okay, so this comes a bit weird. Let me read it out to you. So particularly for some people that like the hangers on. So in the world of politics, it's called the fellow traveler. So you've got a communist, all right? So and if you are a communist, that means you're actually active, right? Like you have to be active in some manner. It's the action that is in the end all be all. That's it. If you're a fellow traveler, you might just be like a progressive. Progressives, for the most part, while some of them are communists, progressives, for the most part, are fellow travelers. They take the side of, they're always against the U.S., they're always against the West, they're always for the revolutionary, and so forth, right? And so And so Whittaker Chambers is making a comment about a fellow traveler and saying, well, it's not quite treason. And this is, quote, men who sincerely abhor the word communism in the pursuit of common ends found that they were unable to distinguish communists from themselves. For men who could not see that what they firmly believed was liberalism added up to socialism could scarcely be expected to see what added up to communism. Any charge of communism enraged them precisely because they could not grasp the differences between themselves and those against whom it was made. So that's it. So a fellow traveler, so liberal, right? One of these just regular people that are siding with the vaping ban or whatever, yak, 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 Trump's a racist, pussy hat, whatever. Okay. They can't possibly recognize what a communist is because they can't even possibly understand that their connection with even just socialism. Like, this is in 51. So a lot more people would say, oh, I'm a socialist, right? But so they can't recognize that because they can't recognize anything close to that in themselves, even though they're a part of it, right? So that's
right.
That's kind of what it is. So it's it's like man's great capacity to deceive themselves. So thinking that in this grand effort for common ends, this grand virtuous effort to save the children, and so forth, they can't possibly see they're acting like fascists.
Right.
They can't. And if you say that, they recoil in this reaction, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But literally, they are acting like fascists. We can pull out a book and read off everything the actual Nazis did for public health, and except for some of the hardcore eugenics things, which they haven't had a chance to retread yet, right. They are doing that. And I watched a PBS documentary. It was an American Experience. No, it was a Nova. It was a Nova. It was one of the last Novas of the season, so in December. And Christ, what the heck? It was some survey documentary across science and a few things. And it was all forward-looking and 100% progressive. And they get to this part where scientists now have figured out that they can measure the size of people's skulls and then attribute personality traits, i.e. the trait that they were looking to measure was toxic masculinity. And so at the largest universities in the US, and here's PBS in Nova, and they took about 10 seconds, about 2 minutes in, to acknowledge the fact that this is not the same thing as those kind of experiments that were done back in the 10s and 20s that, were led to some bad eugenics kind of things. No, they'd spent 10 seconds on that, already 2 minutes in. And you're watching this curator or this top scientist talking about the research and the measuring, and just with this horrible just hate for toxic masculinity. And basically said that we can breed it out once we can identify it physically in the skull. I mean, they're fascist. They are, I mean, that's their whole...
Well, clearly, I mean, I don't think anybody's listening at 11:30 to an hour-long rant between us. And if they are, okay, Brent's talking about a book by Whittaker Chambers called Witness, correct?
Yeah, that's what this book was. What I was just talking about was Nova.
Yeah. Right? So I was just looking, I mean, I follow, of all the weird things I do, I follow Ronald Reagan quotes, right? And I just did a hit, and I have this little thing that all ties to Ronald Reagan. And clearly this book was a foundation for Republican thought, okay, to react to the communist threat. And it carried on for a very long time because President Ronald Reagan, while president, okay, was quoted as saying this about this book and the author: as long as humanity speaks of virtue and dreams of freedom, the life and writing of Whittaker Chambers will be ennoble and inspire.
Yeah.
Interesting. I saw that and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what I was saying. It's huge. But right? Because that's a clear example of how progressives don't just now own the media. They've owned the media for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, you and I are both men of some experience in age. I mean, I just heard about this, last year. Look at how fat that thing is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but it's a great read.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up. I've got it on my Amazon list right now.
Yeah, it's a really good read.
Anyway, buddy, listen, great talking with you tonight. I just jumped on because you were looking for a sound check, and we ended up talking for an hour, but whatever.
No, man, I totally appreciated it. Just the last chunk of it or whatever was on Facebook, and all of it was on YouTube. So, and it'll be up. And I'll probably shorten some of the stuff off and just turn it into an interview with you. So,
if you want, I don't care.
Okay, man. Well, look, I really appreciate you for dialing in and for sharing, getting into it, and helping us prep for tomorrow's thing, and just being you. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, buddy. We talk almost daily, so it's always good to carry on the conversation live.
You too, my man. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, Sean. I'll let you go. Let's see. How would I do that? There we go. Well, I guess then that's the best way to let him go. He's taken off. All right, guys. Well, look, I just want to make sure that I thank you all for putting up with that. Sorry for Facebook folks, because you didn't get into that until towards the end. John Glauser, man, would have loved to have been on this show. John, we would have loved to have had you. This was a technology test. And then I made the comment, would somebody please dial in on Skype so I could check out the tech here? And then Sean called. So you're on Facebook, John. You would have missed the first part of it with Sean. And we used and played a couple of sound clips and stuff like that. I think you might know what one of them was, because we talked about it on the phone. It was that Azar clip. So we did air that. And so go back to the YouTube version, guys, on Facebook, and rewatch it from the start there. It's mostly going to be Sean. I'll clean this up a bit. Thank you so much. Do I have... Oh, okay. No, I don't. I do have, but this is a great book called United in Hate, and it just absolutely eviscerates the left. And I cannot wait to talk to you about that, and with some vaping too as well. All right, everybody. Well, look, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. I am Brent Stafford. This has been RegWatch Rant, sort of, kind of, tech test. That's it. We're out of here.